So I recently saw a new study by the Ladders where they found that 67% of workers earning over $100,000 a year see themselves quitting their job in the next 6 months. Think about that. That's a full 2/3 of your workforce who could potentially see themselves walking into your office late on a Friday and handing you a resignation letter. Pretty scary, right? Hey there, Jay Vennard, the robotics recruiter. And today I'm going to show you how to keep that nightmare scenario of losing all of your best people from ever happening. Now, as a headhunter, while I may regret shooting this video, I'm going to essentially show you the 5 steps on how you can headhunter proof your top performing automation and robotics talent. Now, keep in mind the unemployment rate is at a 50-year record low, and the unemployment rate in our industry is essentially 0. On top of that, it seems like every company that I've talked to in the last 6 months has the exact same openings and looking for the exact same talent. Now, the demand for talent is skyrocketing, and as much as recruiters have been overusing the phrase war for talent, there actually is a legitimate war for talent taking place right now. And for those of you who don't see it, then you're probably not hiring the best of the best. But I digress. It is this insane unemployment rate as well as this 67% figure I mentioned a moment ago that has close to 100,000 recruiters in the US salivating over what is a gold rush. Now, this isn't just a gold rush for recruiters, it's a gold rush for all-star employees as well. You know, the ones who could truly deliver amazing results only if you knew how to attract them. They will be able to write their own tickets, but the same also holds true for you. If you figure out how to consistently win those all-stars and keep the ones you have, then your stock rises exponentially. You see, here's the thing. When we're looking at retention, money is a very, very big factor. It's not uncommon to see bumps of between 15 to 25% for top performers who jump ship. And just last week, I heard of a $65,000 counteroffer. That's pretty crazy. Now, compare that to staying long-term with your company, where you might get a 3 to 5% raise, if that. That's why there's so much churn right now in the automation and robotics marketplace. Now, is it all about the money? No. But top performers in any field want the opportunity to self-actualize, right? They want to challenge themselves and grow, and obviously money tends to follow that growth. But what many fail to realize, though, is that companies who pay more for talent typically offer much greater overall opportunities for their employees, right? The money just being one of many factors. Now, obviously, you shouldn't confuse causation with correlation, so it's not just about the money. But at the same time, it is about the money. I mean, let's get real. Who could pass up a $65,000 counteroffer? So the bottom line is we can safely assume that a full 2/3 of your employees will seriously consider leaving you for a higher paying job in the next 6 months. Now, here's where it gets really scary, and that's the cost of turnover. You have recruiting costs. You have paying for recruiters. You have paying for job postings, but I hope you're really not using job postings. It's a waste of money. You have the referral bonuses. You have the travel or relocation expenses. Not to mention the opportunity cost for not having someone in that position right now. You also have to consider decreased productivity and morale because the other team members are taking on the additional work, and sometimes that can cause increased turnover. In fact, it can produce an exodus of talent. Does that sound like a nightmare scenario for you? Oh, and let's not forget, there's also the training and onboarding costs. I think we can all agree getting a new person started and up to speed always takes a lot more time than we initially projected. On top of that, beyond just the months it could take to train, we also have the lost institutional knowledge. Even if you have a strong knowledge transfer process in place, and quite frankly, most companies don't, you still run the risk of losing precious real-world knowledge which can leave significant gaps in your automation environment. Now, with that said, I do believe in a meritocracy. So I do believe that some turnover is a good thing, especially when you could turn over your C and D players and replace them with A and B players. But that's actually a topic that we'll cover in another video. But what I want you to really worry about, though, is turnover amongst your all-stars. It's these superstars that you've worked so hard to recruit, maybe even used a skilled headhunter like myself to woo them away from your competitors. These people should be protected at all costs. Given that top performers are always in demand and they're in contact with other employment opportunities constantly, the key question for you is, how do you keep your all-stars given so many are willing to leave and are getting calls from headhunters like me weekly? Let me show you how to keep the lifeblood of your organization in place. First things first, step one. You need to be the steward of what we call an all-star culture. You see, all-stars want to work with Hall of Fame leaders in an all-star environment. Top performers want to work for a company that celebrates their uniqueness, celebrates their drive to succeed, and of course, celebrates their bottom line performance. Again, meritocracies. They want to do their best work, and their managers recognize that sometimes you've just got to get out of their way. In order for you to foster an environment conducive to all-star performance is to make sure that you're hiring those who share your company's core DNA. And those who don't, you just have to let them go. Now, if you've seen my foolproof interview video, there's a reason why I recommend so many DNA interviews during the recruiting process. It is that important. Step two, you must become a Hall of Fame leader. All-stars want to work for Hall of Famers, plain and simple. It's one of the earliest lessons I learned in my 8 years as a professional athlete and brought that knowledge to the headhunting game. You see, people don't work for jobs. People work for people. People don't quit their jobs. They quit their leaders. And you must burn that in your brain. B and C players, however, don't mind working for other B and C players. In fact, they prefer it because it allows them to fly right under the radar. All-stars, on the other hand, they're a different breed. These are the thoroughbreds. And if they find themselves working for B and C players, they're going to get frustrated and ultimately lose their inspiration for their work. They're going to feel held back, and when a thoroughbred who is built for speed is held back, that's when they leave. This is why exiting weak managers should be a new executive's number one mission when they take over the reins of a new organization. So, if you're new to leadership, I'll give you a little piece of advice that I wish I learned a lot earlier in my own leadership career. All-stars will keep you honest, and if you want to be in the all-star business, then you better bring your A game. You'd better be constantly improving, because all-stars will 100% hold you accountable, and they're going to call you out on your BS. They'll also make you a better leader over time, but you need to have the stomach for radical honesty. Are you ready for that? So it's important that you hire those that are so good it's almost intimidating. All-stars like that will force you out of your comfort zone, and they will stretch your leadership capacity. But bottom line, bar none, it's how you become an all-star leader. Step number 3, you must compensate aggressively. While money may not be the number one thing keeping an all-star on your team, there's always somebody out there that's willing to pay them more, and it's also pretty high on their priority list. All-stars know their top performers, and they expect top performance. If we know that top performers are leaving organizations for a 15 to 25% salary increase, then why are so many organizations so insistent upon giving everybody a 3 to 5% annual raise across the board? Instead of doing that, give your all-stars the 15 to 25% increase and fund it by not giving increases to the low and middle of the road performers. Pretty bold, I know, But I believe that's fair because it's tied to performance and it shows your all-stars that you believe in them and value their top performance. This 100% keeps your all-stars from being lured into the grass is always greener mentality that so many automation and robotics workers have in today's economic boom. You want all-stars to realize that the grass is actually greener on your side. And right now you might be asking, what do we do with those employees who don't earn their annual raises? As I mentioned earlier, I believe in meritocracies and the concept of positive turnover, so we'll just leave it at that. Step 4 on how to headhunter-proof your company. You must provide a challenge and, more importantly, a career path. All-stars tend to have an innate need for self-actualization, so it's really important that that should be a primary component of your employer value proposition. Even if they're highly compensated, if you don't stretch them and challenge them and provide a career path, they will tend to have a wandering eye because all-stars get bored very easily, while average to low performers oftentimes are more interested in long-term stability. The true top performers usually find monotony, punctuated by an occasional football shirt Friday, to be a state worse than death. All-stars want to wake up every Monday excited and energized. They want to tackle the week head on. All-stars want to work towards a common goal that they know will stretch them. The C&D players, on the other hand, well, they work for the weekend, and that absolutely drives an all-star crazy. So, you need to be able to compensate your all-stars handsomely, but not just in terms of monetary value. Compensate them with a challenge and especially a clear and defined career path. They want to see that they're making progress in their professional development. Again, if they don't, they're going to get bored and they're going to end up leaving. So you might think about giving them a new job title, have them learn new skills and take on new responsibilities. If they feel they're stagnated, expect them to start disengaging, expect them to start pulling back, and expect them to start looking elsewhere. In fact, there's a 2017 study by Bamboo HR that said the #1 reason why people leave is because of lack of career growth. So it's time to ask yourself, do you outline a clear career path for all of your all-stars? If you don't, you better start doing it today before somebody else does. Step 5, you must be walking toward a purpose, meaning, as a leader, you have to find a way to instill purpose in your people. You've got to be able to connect the dots between your employees, the work, the purpose behind the work, and why the work matters. You see, your all-stars need to feel like they're being part of something bigger than their day-to-day role. While a strong sense of purpose is important for all employees, it's particularly important for all-stars because they pour so much of themselves into their work. So you want to make sure that they're included in any big picture discussions because they want to feel connected to the overall performance and the success of your company. So it becomes very important to instill these virtues into your organization at every level as soon as possible, as in yesterday. So please listen carefully here. This is exactly what this means to headhunter-proof your team. It's really important because all-stars have never had more access to open source data like salaries and employee reviews on Glassdoor as they have today. And yes, they do check reviews on Glassdoor. Trust me, they all do. The real question is, do you know what your reviews say about your company? Now, all-stars are in extremely high demand right now. The competition for all-stars has never been this cutthroat, and that's going to keep increasing over the next 12 years, considering that 40% of the current workforce is soon to be retiring. Now, you remember the gold rush we talked about earlier? There are close to 100,000 recruiters in the United States. Now, that might seem like a lot, but the fact is the majority of them, probably 85%, are just scraping the surface of the talent pool and recruiting from job boards. But there's good news. There's a very small but significantly effective percentage of headhunters, like yours truly, that know how to access the passive candidate market very effectively. We know how to provide a safe space for these passive candidates to lean in and listen to opportunities that can significantly enhance their careers. And we do so confidentially. Those headhunters, myself included, aren't coming for your average and low performers. Quite frankly, we'll leave those to apply for the job postings that they see other recruiters post up on LinkedIn or Indeed. And as a matter of fact, these headhunters are crafting their clients' employer value propositions to make their opportunities literal no-brainers. They're mapping out every single top performer in your city, including your top performers. They're sourcing every piece of contact info, every social media handle, every phone number, every LinkedIn profile, work and personal emails. And they're developing a plan to attack that market with your no-brainer employer value proposition. And they will make 7 to 10 attempts and sometimes even send smoke signals. So make no mistake about it, skilled headhunters have their sights set on your all-stars. Don't give them a reason to leave. Because when a headhunter calls, and they will call, you want your all-star to say thanks, but no thanks. I've got a great thing going on here. So with that said, if you want to learn more about how you can hire all-stars that you deserve and compete at the highest level in the war for talent, including how to find, hire, interview, onboard, and of course retain the best in the industry, you're going to need to click down below to download the Automation and Robotics All-Star Playbook, which is my completely free 69-page playbook on finally eliminating mishires, building elite top-performing teams, and crushing expectations. This playbook is the most comprehensive and sorely needed hiring guide in our business because leaders like you just simply aren't taught how to hire effectively, and this new normal of mishire risk and turnover of your best people is unacceptable. It doesn't have to be this way, and it's 100% avoidable. So, as I mentioned, download the Automation and Robotics All-Star Playbook and get your hiring on point. Because imagine if you could be known as the leader who could consistently field the top 10% of your team, regardless of the company or economic environment. You essentially could write your own ticket. You would be the Hall of Fame leader that the best companies are hiring me to find. So with that said, click the link down below and download that playbook. Now, you can also book a call with me directly if you're ever in need of talent yourself. Just go to theroboticsrecruiter.com, click on the Need Talent button, and book a call with me. On that call, we'll see what's working, what might not be working, and then I'll give you an honest assessment if I can even help you. Even if you're not the right fit for us, or maybe we're not the right fit for you, that's okay. We're really not a fit for everyone. But I will make 100% sure that you walk away with actionable strategies that you can use in your hiring tool bag today. So with that said, I look forward to chatting with you, and here's to you hiring your next Automation and Robotics All-Star and turning yourself into the Hall of Fame leader you deserve to be. Hope you got value from this video. Now, go out and dominate.